Welcome back to Adventures with Aussie Aaron. In today's episode, we're going to go through the Content Creator Edition. And I'll go through my latest project and tell you what worked, what didn't work, and what I learned. Let's get into it. So my trip with G Adventures was the biggest filming that I've ever undertaken. I'd only ever done like a 2-day trip prior to that, and this was the best part of 2 weeks. So it was a massive undertaking compared to what I'd done previously. In terms of the gear, I think what I learned was better to keep it simple. I brought like a 3-in-1 adapter for my GoPro. I have the Volta, which I think I will just use the Volta in future. So that is the handle that has a battery, which comes in very handy. In terms of a microphone, I do have the DJI, but I do have an issue with it being able to connect wirelessly. So it's basically impractical to use when I'm out in the field filming. So the media mod that I have for my GoPro seems to work well enough. It has its limitations in it being a one-directional microphone, but that's something that I can deal with. What I couldn't deal with is I lost the cover, the mic cover to my media mod microphone, and that created a little bit of havoc at the end of the trip. Luckily, it was towards the end of the trip, so it didn't impact me too greatly. Lucky enough, GoPro did send me another one when I reached out to them. So that was very fortunate, and I'm thankful to GoPro because you can't actually buy them. I mean, you probably could buy a knockoff, but in terms of a real deal, you can't buy them. So luckily I got that. In terms of one of the biggest challenges was storyline development. So I had to let it naturally flow and just had to bounce off the people on the tour. It's a good thing about these tours. It's those personal interactions, using that to then build a storyline, grab the viewer in, and then just produce something that people want to watch, which can be quite difficult, especially when you're trying to film hiking, because in all honesty, most hiking is boring for a viewer. So they want something to draw them in. So being able to develop that storyline, luckily for me, I think some of that, it's part science, part art form, but I'm definitely developing in that space. So that is definitely helping me. So in terms of the episode development, I didn't decide when to end an episode until after I'd filmed all of the filming, but there were key stages when I was out in the field where I thought maybe this would be the end of an episode. I better do a wrap up just in case. So I kept that in the back of my mind, and intros as well in different spots throughout the tour, just in case that I was going to either finish or start an episode in a particular location. One thing of note, which I did think about prior to the trip, was battery life and having enough batteries. So luckily I had the Volta, which came in very handy. It did have issues holding its charge in cool climates. So some of those nights were really cool, and I did feel that it affected its ability to maintain that charge. Because we were camping, there were issues with being able to charge in localities. So I spent a lot of time in the shower block trying to charge my gear. I like to be extra cautious, so I had 5 batteries and then the Volta as well, but I like to charge basically everything to full capacity prior to going out and filming, or just in case I went to the next campground and there was an issue and I couldn't charge. I like to have that redundancy so I didn't have an issue where, well, I can't film because I can't charge. So I didn't want that, and I managed to avoid that issue, which was a relief, essentially. So One thing that probably applies more to this situation than to potentially your situation is filming within a tour. Sometimes you're going to get difficult people, people who for some reason or another object to being even in the background of you filming. So we did have one difficult person. She was from the UK, an elderly lady, you know the type, probably the reason why the UK is in decline, because of a person like that, who, yeah, just made life difficult. Because I'm like, I don't want you in my shot either. Like, you're not cinematic. You have a vulgar personality. Like, I don't want you in the shot either. So, yeah, there were those challenges that you have to overcome and you might have to deal with, but it's just part of the course. And next time, maybe I will try a little harder to get this person out of my shots. But when you're in the film and you're trying to film different angles, different perspectives, trying to make it appealing for a future viewer, it does make it challenging. And the problem is, if I do blur this person's, I didn't get their face in majority of the shots, but just say their face was in the shot and I blur, that will draw the viewer's attention to that individual. So the fact that they just remain in the background and they're sporadically in the shot is probably better, that they'll be less noticed. But yeah, they're things you've got to consider. So it is what it is, but that's just life, difficult people. And that's the world we live in, unfortunately. So, what was my highlight and what was my low light of the trip? Well, the highlights were obviously the hikes. Garibaldi Lake and the hike at Lake Louise, they were my two favourites. Garibaldi Lake, definitely a clear favourite. The elevation gain, the views at Panorama Ridge, what we encountered, the race. It was all fun. Lake Louise definitely had the views. It was very intense in terms of its steepness, especially in that last section, which you'll see. So part 6 has the Garibaldi Lake, and part 4 has the Lake Louise hike. In terms of the lowlights, well, the lowlights in terms of the experience of the holiday, but I actually felt they added to the storyline. So the back pain, the rain, the snow, it just all added to the experience. There wasn't too much conflict between the team members, and in all honesty, there were parts where I'm like, maybe we could spice this up a little bit, get a little bit of conflict in there, maybe make a storyline, but I didn't really drive any of that. Just wanted that to naturally unfold if it did, but it didn't, so I didn't push it. So in terms of the holiday, the G Adventure trip, that was my highlight, and that was my low light. Aussie Aaron, you haven't given me a tip recently on how I can save some money for my G Adventures tours. You're right, and I have another tip. So let's just say you booked a holiday and you either booked it for a 5% discount, a 10% discount, or maybe no discount at all. And then a few months pass or a few weeks pass, and then you realize, oh my God, that tour that I booked is now 25% off. What am I going to do? I've missed out on the discount. But just you wait. What you can do is you can cancel your tour. You'll get a lifetime deposit that you can apply to a future holiday. So you cannot apply it to the holiday that you're cancelling. So you have to take that into consideration. But if the delta between the cheaper price, let's say the 25% discounted holiday, is greater than the lifetime deposit, then you definitely can proceed with making the cancellation and the rebooking, even if you don't rebook another holiday in the future. If you know you're going to rebook a holiday in the future with G Adventures, then you can just do it and then apply that lifetime deposit to another holiday. So that's what I did for my Canada holiday, like a Canada trip. I booked it when it was maybe 10-15% off, and I realized it was like 20-25% off. I was like, oh hell no, I'm not missing out on that discount. So I cancelled, and then I'm going to apply the lifetime deposit to a future holiday. So there's another way that you can save some more money. That's what I do. Saving money is the name of the game. And that's a wrap for another episode. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I truly appreciate it. And share this video. If you know someone else who would enjoy this video, make sure you share it to them. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See you next time.